tutti, good evening and welcome to the Italian Radio Hour. Io sono Viviana and I would like to welcome back our regular listeners and also welcome any new listeners. Also, be sure to like us on Instagram and Facebook at Italian Radio Hour and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch up on any past video interviews. Vorrei dare il benvenuto ai nostri ascoltatori da tutto il mondo, grazie per essere con noi anche oggi mentre continuiamo il nostro viaggio per l'Italia e la cultura italiana. Few names evoke the enchantment of Italy quite like Frances May's. The best-selling author of Under the Tuscan Sun invited us all into her life in Cortona, a town she helped put on the literary map. Through her lyrical prose, we have wandered olive groves, savored local feasts, and rediscovered the meaning of home and belonging. Today, we welcome Frances back, not only as a beloved author and cultural guide, but as a newly honored Italian citizen. We'll talk about her latest work, A Great Marriage, dive into her early memories, explore what continues to inspire her, and hear what life is like at Bramasole these days, alongside with her husband Ed and their award-winning olive oil. So sit back and relax and don't go anywhere, ma prima pubblicità. Parli italiano? Do you want to learn, improve, or master your Italian? Istituto Mondo Italiano can help. Located in the heart of Regent Square, Mondo Italiano offers small group classes and one-on-one private tutoring, in person or online, to help you learn Italian in no time. Visit us online at istitutomondoitaliano.org. Frances, welcome back to the program. It's such a pleasure to have you with us again.
It's great to be back with you, Viviana. It's been a while.
It's been a while, but I think we have done periodic catch-ups. So
yes,
it's nice to be able to keep in touch, to follow what you have been producing for us, what traveling places you have traveled to, and things that you wanted to share.
Since I talked to you, I've been traveling so much, and we have found ourselves traveling a lot in Asia, which I've never really known very much about as a traveler until last year. We went on an around the world trip, and then this year we went back to Asia in January. It's a great time to travel there. The weather's perfect, and it's a great winter escape. We just loved it. Now I've really got the bug to see all of Asia. I've always been so Eurocentric and, of course, so in love with Italy, and still am, that I have missed so much, and it's been just eye-opening to travel in Asia.
Absolutely, and we'll talk a little more about your recent travels later in the conversation. But I wanted to start off with indeed your latest endeavors, your latest book, A Great Marriage, and so it's without spoiling too much of the book, but just when a perfect wedding is called off just days before the big event, it sends two people and their families reeling in this very interesting, poignant novel. So a great marriage is an elusive thing, and only a few know the secret of making one. And one, it takes, a lot of love to go the distance. So this book touches a lot of deeply, personal and emotional themes. And I obviously love, like millions, billions of readers out there, how you have inspired change through the stories that you're sharing. You have inspired so many readers to get out of their comfort zone, travel, challenge themselves, reflect on the idea of belonging. So my question to you is, what was your seed that you used for inspiration for this book?
You use the word challenge, and I think that's kind of the heart of this book. It's kind of challenging ideas about what a great marriage is. And I wrote about what is a good marriage and what is a great marriage. And I think everyone, is exposed to all kinds of marriages through their lives, and it becomes quite a big subject because not only your own or your parents or your siblings and your friends, but you read so much about marriage. I've just read a lot more than I want to about the marriage of those Bezos people in Venice. And, marriage is always a really big subject for me. And I think it is for a lot of people. And I was inspired or kind of moved to write this book because the daughter of a friend of ours called off her wedding 2 weeks before the wedding. And everyone was invited to Italy to the wedding, and she became kind of a runaway bride. And I was so amazed at her, sudden decision, but also her courage in doing it when all this wedding was in motion. So it started me thinking a lot about marriage. And she wasn't telling anyone why she was running away. But it was just that little kernel that began me thinking about marriage. And instances in my family came into the story. And I really kind of wanted to write what I understood about what a great marriage is. And I won't say, won't be a spoiler saying what I think it is, because that's what the whole book is about. But it seemed to me to boil down to something very essential and very simple as well. So I wanted to write about a marriage that did not happen. And then maybe it happened or maybe it didn't later. So that was kind of the impulse for that book.
Mm-hmm.
But I also wanted to write, as I always do, about place. And in this book, it's the South, where my character is from. She's from North Carolina. And it's also England. The groom, would-be groom, is British and went to university. He's an architect. He went to university in Cambridge. And I really chose England as a setting because I really wanted to go there and I wanted to spend time there. So my husband and I we did a lot of research there, and it was so much fun. I always write about place and how place influences someone's life. And as you know, I've written all these books about Italy. And all of those books are an explanation of or exploration of place. And I think my sentence from a long time ago, where you are is who you are, is that something that runs through all my work. I think any writer who's done a lot of books sees these same red threads running through, your whole work. And that's certainly one of mine. Having grown up in the South, felt that sense of place very strongly, even as a child. And so for whatever reason, it was a subject that grabbed me. So this book is about place. It takes place in both in the South and in London, a little bit in New York, but it's basically many ideas of home and who you are in that place kind of permeate this book. It's also about family ties, and it's mainly about this main character, Dara, having to let go of a lot of her assumptions about herself and be thrown into a situation that she can't control. And we'll see what happens to her if you read the book. I hope I did right by her. I still think about her. The book was set in 1990. And I set it there because that was the last year that you could not be under the sway of the internet, of the digital world. Right after that, everything changed. And it makes it so much harder for a writer to deal with who knows what and what can be secret, because now that there's this instant access to anyone and find my friend and all that, it's hard for people to get away from each other. Mm-hmm. And when she split, she wanted to be away, and I could let her do that because it was kind of the last gasp. Toward the end of the book, she gets a phone, but it was interesting to me writing this, to realize for all writers how much their narrative strategies had to change to accommodate the fact that information is so much more available. And, you know, you see it in TV programs. You see all the surveillance cameras. Previously, the detectives had to find out things for themselves, but now they check the surveillance cameras, and it just changed. It changed narrative, along with many, many other things. But I liked writing the book, and it kind of put to rest some of my own questions about marriage. And it's great when, as a writer, the book you're writing teaches you something, reveals something to you as you go along.
Yeah, and we'll talk about one other character in the book. It might be related to a personal story, but you mentioned, you know, the pre-internet, so to speak, the observing, and I was wondering also, as far as the matter of marriages and relationships, what can a generation learn from one another, if there is any thought about that in your experience in the book? How is that incorporated in a great marriage?
Yes, that Dara, my bride, has a very influential grandmother. The grandmother is a writer, and she wrote a book called A Good Marriage, and it became an international bestseller. But Dara, of course, she's too young, she had never gotten around to reading the book. But the grandmother's influence and the grandmother's two marriages inform her as the story goes. Plus, her own parents have a great marriage. So she has that in her background, you know, some extremely strong family situation that makes, in a way, it makes it even harder for her, because she realizes she's not going to have that in the same way. So it is three generations, and I liked writing about women at very young age, 20s, middle age, and old age. That was a really exciting part of the book to write about for me.
Wonderful. So one, you know, whenever people think about a great marriage, we think about the secret sauce, positive elements, and so forth. And sometimes, at least in my personal view, is more how react to negative events, negative emotions together, and or certain feelings, like for instance, a feeling of betrayal. And I believe there is something related to a personal story that somehow inspired you to some elements of Austin, how you wanted to maybe rewrite your own story about a family event. I don't know if you care to elaborate on that.
It was never my own story, but some elements of it were from a situation in my own family that was kept secret from me. And I didn't even find out about it until about 4 years ago. And it influenced many aspects of the book. And I was the kind of child that was looking under the bed. I was looking through the keyhole. I was always tuned into what people were doing and what the family secrets were. So it was a shock to me that I had gotten to be an older person and I had never known about this situation. And it was a betrayal. So that having experienced, you know, various kinds of betrayals also in my life, but never one like that, I was also interested in that aspect of betrayal. And I had this dream. It was weird. I dreamed that someone said to me, and I don't even know who it was in the dream, why does the betrayer always be the one to say, why did you betray me? You know, that double side of the betrayer and the betrayed, that the one who actually betrays often feels that that person herself was betrayed. Interesting questions to fool around with for years and years,
So I can somehow picture you as a young girl, as you said, eavesdropping on everyone's conversation, whether they were around the kitchen table or some other situations. So can you take us back to little Francis? Maybe, were all your parents, did your parents bringing in Georgia playing, shaping your sense of curiosity and artistry?
I grew up in a very chaotic family, and I was always kind of listening in to try to figure out what these crazy people were doing. So that kind of shaped my whole sense of curiosity about the world. Um, it was also the South, so it was a place of storytelling and a lot of interest in other people and everyone commenting on everyone else. So I think from a very early age, I was very acutely aware of describing people because they were in my family and the environs around our family. Everyone was always talking about everyone else. And it gives you, as a writer, it gives you, insight into how characters are perceived and how these characters fit into the whole fabric around you. So I was just a curious child. I was a big reader, and it was a small town in Georgia, so there wasn't a whole lot to do. That's actually how I became such a reader, going to the library. And of course, I didn't know I could be a writer. I thought all writers were dead, but finally I figured out they weren't. And it always kind of seemed to me what I wanted to do is try to make sense of and describe the world I found.
Mm-hmm. Was there a specific moment or when you realized in your early life that you had this storytelling voice that was bigger than you at that point?
It was always poetry for me when I was a child. I started writing poetry when I was about 8 or 9 years old. It was all just, you know, family occasions, birthdays, anniversaries, things like that. But then I started reading a lot of poetry and started reading all the Southern writers as well, all the novelists. And so when I got to college, I, started taking writing classes and majored in English. And it just always seemed to me that the very best thing you could do was be a writer. That was just the nothing else compared. Possibly architecture. I was very interested in, still am in architecture, but I didn't think I would ever have the math skills to be an architect. It was, an era when girls weren't supposed to be good at math, and I assumed I wasn't, and I probably wasn't.
So, well, let's talk about the places that surround you. They're a source of inspiration to you, source of dreams for us. Obviously, we cannot not talk about Bramasole and Cortona because Bramasole has become almost a character in your writing. And so, decades later, what does it mean to you today?
I've never tired of coming back here. It's always with a sense of renewal and interest and excitement that I come back here. And I've been coming here. We bought this house in 1990. That was a long time ago. And it's always new. It's always a surprise. And I usually come back in the spring just in time to do all the planting for summer. Like the first 2 weeks I'm here, the whole garden is in flux and things are getting torn out and clipped and planted and transplanted. And then after a couple of weeks, it's all set. And I must say, the garden is just really, I guess, the deepest pleasure. The house is very open to the garden. So you feel a relationship with the outside all the time. And I just feel all day from when the sun comes up right over there in the east till the nighttime when you can still, we're far enough in the country, we can see all these constellations. And it's just a place of very, very deep connection and renewal. It's home. It's very deeply home. That has spread into my husband's family and my family and our daughter, my grandson. They all gravitate to here as home. So, that's one of my big subjects is the house and how the house protects the dreamer, as Bachelard said. I love to think of the house that means something to you is that it's also a place that really protects you and nurtures you. So the house is never just four walls to me. It's a presence that is quite active.
And the pictures that I'm sharing are courtesy of Francis' website. If you go there onto the articles, the Substacks and everything. So I do hope that people will take time to indeed admire and keep on dreaming. But in addition to those gardening 7 levels, I think when you get there, you also profusely talk about all the weeding and that needs to occur. And I believe you have two expert hands. Well, actually, it becomes 4, Fabio and Giorgio, and also
Yes.
Ellie involved in that.
I couldn't do it without them because it's a complicated garden. It's a hillside.
Mhm.
And of course, the Tuscan hillsides are terraced because of the olive trees. So we step down 7 levels.
Mhm.
So the garden is on all these different levels and it makes it challenging in a way. And I always think of it as like a miniature hanging gardens of Babylon. But everything grows here. Right now, the lavender is in bloom. And we just go outside and stare every day because right up on that top terrace that you're seeing right now, there's a pool. And down on the lower terraces too, there's a lot of lavender. There must be 5,000 butterflies. And we're always trying to see how many different kinds there are. And bees, you can hear the bees. It just feels really paradisical, this butterfly season. Of course, in about a month, the lavender will start to fade and they will move on elsewhere.
Absolutely. And so if you care to share, what is a typical day? What does a typical day look like for you and Ed in Cortona as locals?
Well, we're both writers, so a lot of days look like writing days. But like this morning, I went out with a friend and a real estate agent to look at property. I looked at 2 ancient farmhouses that are just waiting to be restored. And it was so much fun to go in these places. They haven't been inhabited in years and to start visualizing how they could be brought back to life and to be a beautiful home for someone. So my friend is looking for a place, and I hope he liked these places. I did. I was already mentally, deciding on the wall colors, but they're not that many old farmhouses left that are waiting to be restored. They've been snatched up. They've been restored. Our real estate's quite expensive here now, even for something kind of broken down and neglected for years. It's still pretty expensive. And I would still like to do another restoration. I so enjoyed the process. It's you're bringing something back that was going to eventually fall down. And you feel like you're restoring a piece of the patrimony because these are ancient, these are 16th century farmhouses, and they're just waiting to be restored. So it's just huge fun and satisfaction to do that. I know a lot of people have trouble with restoration. I certainly have had my issues with it too, but overall, I love it. I think it's you're restoring a house, you're kind of restoring your own mental process in a way. It's mysterious.
And then it's also a way of integrating with the local community because, most likely you might be using local contractors. You'll probably
Definitely.
find out more than what you ever thought you would know about everything. But that's also a great relationship building.
It is. And that I think is why we had a pretty easy time making our way in this community because we didn't have a lot of money when we were restoring this house. So we were working along with the people we had to hire who know how to do things we don't, like electricity and plumbing. But I was on the floor scrubbing the bricks, and Ed was on the ceiling cleaning the paint, flaking paint. So we were kind of working along with them, and we got to know a lot of people in the community that way, the workers themselves, but they were always sending us in town to get supplies. And so we were able to meet people that way. And it was a great introduction. They started inviting us to their, children's first communion and weddings and started bringing us their olive oil. And it was just a wonderful introduction to the way of life here. Now, a lot of people buy a place, they hire an architect and a lawyer and a team, and they come back months later and it's done. I don't see that as a really exciting way to do it. I really don't, but that's the way a lot of people do it now. They buy it. I don't feel like we bought the house, but we were so involved at every level with every decision. And of course, you hire people to do things and you leave, they come upon crossroads and they have to make a decision. Sometimes they do things that you might not want them to do. Other times you luck out and they do something great. But if you're not here, you don't really have total control.
Indeed. So we're going to take a 5 seconds break and then we'll be back with Francis May. Applying for Italian citizenship? Need documents translation? Istituto Mondo Italiano provides certified translations and assistance services. Be sure to visit us at istitutomondoitaliano.org and schedule your free consultation. Un caffè, per favore. My first cup of coffee sets the tone for my entire day, and I get my coffee at La Prima Espresso. La Prima has been brewing Pittsburgh Express coffee for over 35 years. Try any of their in-house roasted varieties of beans from all over the world at home, or come and enjoy an espresso or a cappuccino at any of their locations, where their friendly baristas and familiar faces will make you feel at home. Visit laprima.com to get La Prima Espresso coffee at your door. Okay, we are back. So we were talking about the whole renovation. I think the sense that I'm getting is that you and Ed built the soul of the house by being participant in every single step of the renovation versus, as you were saying, a beautiful, real estate. You really, you made memories of also the defeats and of some of the projects that might not have gone right the first time around.
That's right. And also you participate in the discoveries because when you restore an old house, you're going to find out some surprises. And after all these years, we are still finding surprises. Like 3 years ago, we were repainting a room, changing color in a room, and they started scrubbing down the room, and this fresco starts to appear behind the paint that they were scraping off. And it's in a bedroom, and it is a painted curtain that comes down over half the wall. And we know it must have been on the other wall, but it was gone there. But we were able to leave it. And that was, many years later. When we first got here, we discovered the fresco in the dining room. And old houses are just like that. You know, you're digging in the garden and you find all these wonderful pieces of pottery or some piece of iron that was part of a tool. And it's just a process of discovery. We
Mhm.
have one room here that has a scent, and we never figured out why this room has a scent. But you walk into it, and this kind of it's kind of like a potpourri scent. It's a herbal, spicy, very faint, but and some people don't notice it, but others do when they come in. What's that nice smell? I don't know what it is. We had a priest here blessing the house one Easter, and he said there must be a saint walled up in the wall. I don't know.
So, but so going back into some of the daily routines. Obviously, we do see pictures of beautiful set tables, but I do like also from your articles that you share regularly with us is what I'm cooking depends on whom I run into, and which is so typical to run into whether it's someone that you know or maybe a vendor that opens up the trunk and before you know there is
Yes.
everything that you
Yes.
can imagine. So here we have another friend of yours, and you
Oh,
are
yeah.
holding something that is very typical of the region. If you
Um,
would care to describe and maybe what you did with it.
that is alione. It's like elephant garlic, only bigger, and it's not really a garlic. It's from the leek family, but it's called alione, big garlic. It's very at home in this area. You don't find it in all over Italy, but it's been grown here for centuries and centuries. And this is my friend Edo, who's the big alione grower in this area. So the main thing it's used for is a pasta sauce, peachy alione. Peachy is the local favorite pasta. It's like a thick spaghetti. And if you can get it fresh, it's rolled out by hand into these long strands, spaghetti like, but like not as thick as a pencil, but pretty thick. So it's
Mhm.
kind of chewy. You make this lovely alione sauce that has a little bit of tomato and it's totally simple, like a lot of Tuscan food is. And it's on most menus. Almost every trattoria will have peachy alione on it.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to. I will dig for some pictures of where my husband and I went that had a fantastic peachy all'aglione, and I think it's also a type of, as I said, as you said, it's part of the leek family, but it might be common in the Lazio region as well. And,
Uh-huh.
but then something else that you seem to enjoy, and when I saw them, because we grow them here as well, the pesche tabacchiere. So I think in English,
Oh,
uh,
yes.
donut peaches.
Those are the most luscious peaches that I've ever tasted in my life. And I'm from Georgia, so I'm
That's,
pretty
yeah,
familiar with
you know
peaches.
about peaches.
I've always loved the yellow Georgia peaches, but and also around here, the big white juicy ones are really popular. But these are little flat things that you have to eat them just as they get ripe because they're gone really quickly. They're very ephemeral. But when they're in season, which they are now, it's I just have to have one every morning.
Mhm.
They're luscious.
Yeah.
You know, they truly kind of drip down your chin as you're having
Yes,
them.
indeed. You almost have to eat them standing with your legs a little bit. And so this is actually this is a connection that I didn't know, but you also mentioned in your articles. These peaches, where are they originally from? Because yes, we know them in Italy. Also, they're typical of the Mount Etna, and then in many other regions. But
Mhm.
that's also a country that you mentioned before. You were recently traveling to. So can you share
Yes,
a little bit
they
about?
originally from China, like a lot of fruits, of course, came from it's thought that the pits were somehow exchanged in the trading along the Silk Road and somehow eventually made their way around the world, like a lot of, fruits do. And uh, I was in China, but I never saw the peaches because I was there in the winter. So
So they didn't get a chance to run into it. So I did find my pictures for the piche al leone, which is, I think, just a flour and water type of dough. And let's see, I was at, you probably know this restaurant,
ah,
La Bucaccia da Romano.
oh yes, that's
Yeah,
wonderful. Romano's restaurant, yeah.
yeah, definitely was.
Yes, they definitely have that on the menu.
Mhm. And
It's very loved. Around here, of course, the other
mhm.
hugely popular pasta is with cingale, the
Yes.
wild boar. That's really another very rustic,
Mhm.
ancient tradition here. The hunt for the wild boar in the fall is just something so many people get into. But the wild boar pasta is really tasty. Um, there's so many kinds of pasta. I love the alfumo that's really popular here.
Mhm.
But what I've learned here is that anything can be a pasta. You've got something left over in the fridge, pasta, there you have dinner.
Indeed, indeed. So, and then there is, the life on the piazza. I was, there seems to be just an easy. I'm going to try to also find some pictures on the Palazzo Comunale that sits right there. I believe we're there in July. There was some, sometimes you might have dances. In this case, there were two dancers with these crocheted
Oh my goodness.
outfits, and it was so hot. I don't know how they managed to
Oh,
but they did do a dance right there to everyone's amusement. I
yes,
was trying to see if I can find the piazza is so inviting right there, and then you have that one
yes.
street that has one shop after another after another.
There's something always going on. Like a few nights ago, we had dinner on the piazza and there was a band playing. It was like out of a time warp. It was like 1930 or 50.
Mhm.
I said to my husband, Fellini was a documentary filmmaker. This is straight out of Fellini. There
Yeah.
were majorettes, and they were just, playing this rousing music in the piazza, and everyone was strolling around, having dinner, having gelato.
Mhm.
Especially in the summer, there's a lot of piazza life at night. Of course, in the
Mhm.
daytime, there always is. I
Yeah.
go in almost every morning, have coffee, meet friends in the piazza, and I love that sense of community that is still very, very strong here. And
Mhm.
it all centers around having a piazza, which is having your living room for everybody.
Yeah, indeed. And then there is just from the cultural the Museo dell'Accademia Etrusca. It's an amazing museum that people shouldn't miss because the collections of vases and uh,
Right.
jewelry and everything really makes it a special place. We were talking.
Etruscan jewelry is amazing.
Yes,
You look
indeed.
at it and you think, oh, Cartier, eat your heart out. This is so beautiful.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there is I think there is a word that you pick up recently, the girovagando, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and there is also, I'll give you a synonym, the andando a zonzo, this kind of
Ah,
wandering and exploring and so forth. And it looks like you have done some of it recently in Tuscany, some other destinations that might be just a trip away from Cortona that you particularly enjoy exploring recently?
There are so many places, and everybody thinks Tuscany's so crowded now in the summer, but it's not. It
Mhm.
is in Florence, of course, and I guess Siena because the Palio, the horse race, is about to happen. But out in rural Tuscany, you go for miles without meeting anyone. And we
Mhm.
have a lot of guests, so we have places we take these guests to. One of them most recently was the Monte Oliveto Maggiore, which has the Sodoma and Signorelli frescoes around this beautiful
Yes.
courtyard. But we love going over into Umbria too. Città di Castello is one of my very favorite towns. And it has two stupendous museums there. The artist Buri from there, he was a doctor. He was captured as a prisoner of war and sent to Texas. While he was in Texas in this prisoner of war camp, he started making art out of found objects. And he never went back to being a doctor. When he came home, he pursued this, and his work is so interesting. But he left all his work to Città di Castello. So his reputation hasn't spread the way I think it should have and could have because he stayed home. But Città di Castello is a very handsome town. It's a Umbrian market town. Umbertidi over there is another place we go. We love to take guests to San Sepolcro because that is where Piero della Francesco was from, and some of his great works are, as you know, are still in San Sepolcro. It's a fabulous town. There's just so many small places that make great day trips, and there are things to see along the way, and special things to eat. And like one place we just were in near Monte Oliveto, Chiusure, they have great reputation for artichokes. So it's not the season right now, but I know now I'll be going back there for artichokes someday. It's fun. It's fun to have guests because you do get to share a Tuscany that they might not see otherwise. They might just go to Montepulciano and Florence and maybe one other town, maybe Chianti, over in the Chianti area. But there's so much.
Yeah.
Tuscany is endless. It's such a vast repository
Yeah.
of art and beauty. Those Crete Senese hills. At this time of year, they're all tawny and rolling. Just revives your spirit to see so much beauty.
Mhm. And it is also, the one thing that I don't want to say is unique to Italy because, I've traveled extensively, but not everywhere. These festivals, whether it's the patron saint or Sagre, as you said, for instance, for the artichokes and so forth, that add another layer to already the beautiful architecture that makes that going to that one town during those holidays even more special. You're going to see the locals. You're going to really taste those products at their peak season, and I love that. And
Yes.
it's kind of unique. But you, as you said before, you traveled the world. You tell us a little bit about the Francis when goes outside the comfort zone of Italy or the United States. Um, Obviously, you have a very curious mind. You're a little daring, where you want to really you push yourself also when it's something that is not really, really, uh, I don't want to say something you're familiar with. Um, or do you let people guide you?
That was the challenge of traveling in Asia. We were traveling on our own. We weren't with a group or anything. So we did a lot of preparatory reading. We were on the first trip, I think we were on 37 different flights. So we traveled with carry-on luggage because you can't check your luggage 37 times. You just can't. And we loved the lightness of that. We both had our little roll-on bags in our backpacks. And we found out that, it's perfectly possible to get your laundry back the same day in the hotel. So why do you need to take all this heavy stuff and burden yourself with it? We had the advantage in China of our grandson, because he was studying there. He went to New York University, Shanghai. So he had learned Mandarin and he was great help. It's just really nice if you have some language, and I don't have any Chinese. So that was a great help there. But we were in Japan and Laos and Malaysia, and Penang was great. Cambodia, Vietnam, we were all over the place, and it just whetted my appetite for more. When I got home, I started reading the literature that comes out of those places, because I didn't have time before we left to read that much. I was doing just a lot of research about where we were going to go and what we were going to see. But I think travel, if you do it in an open way, it definitely opens up your life to emotions and understandings that you didn't have before. I found particularly shocking was China, because in the American press we are fed this story that China is awful all the way through, and they're dull and they're in factories, and in fact their cities are amazingly clean. They have, like, Shenzhen has 1,400 parks, and it's along this beautiful river, and it's quiet because they have gone totally for electric cars. There's some plain old diesels left, but mostly it's quiet because everything's electric. The people are friendly. Very few people have gray hair. So it was funny that my husband also has gray hair. People came up to us constantly saying, "Oh, you're so cute. You're so cute." And can I have my picture taken with you? They don't hate Americans, they're friendly, they're living their lives. And we just get such a stupid idea of China from reading the American press. It's just crazy. It's the ancient civilization. There's so much to see there. It's such an exciting place to travel. But we also love Japan. I want to spend more time there. But after all, as a place to live, Italy is really, really a big home to me. And you mentioned earlier that I'm becoming a citizen. The ceremony is this weekend.
I was going to ask you if you can share with us how did it come
Exciting.
about, and to get notified beforehand. Tell us, give us the scoop, tell us everything.
I heard from the government maybe 6 weeks ago that they had passed a resolution that because of my cultural contributions, they were offering me citizenship of Italy. And it's not like, honorary citizenship, which is just they hand you a key or something. This is passport, This is a real citizenship. I'll be able to vote, and I can live anywhere in the EU. It's a huge thing, and I'm just so honored to have been given this. So there's a big ceremony at the Comune in town this weekend, and then the next night, some friends of mine are having one of those long Tuscan tables for 80 people. They're having a wonderful dinner. So I'm still trying to decide what to wear and all that. What I'm going to say, and I hope I don't start crying or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And is Ed then study up on his Italian so that he can apply as well as a spouse?
He's going to apply, but it takes a while. It's not easy to get citizenship here at all. They've just kind of eliminated a good bit of that
Yeah.
citizenship by ancestry. You used to be able to go back generations. Now you can only
It's
go
true.
back as far
Yeah.
as a grandfather or grandmother, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we at Istituto Mondo Italiano, we indeed are fully hands-on on the process. But as far as
Uh-huh.
the news for Ed, it's the process to apply for dual citizenship as a spouse. It's a little slimmer and less time consuming
Uh-huh.
than the one you're sanguinis. So within a year, if he has all these docs in a row, and the first thing is the language exam. Once he has that under his belt, then
He's
it's
already done that. We've already done, we both did that because we had the long-term
Oh yeah,
permesso.
for the permesso di
Yeah,
soggiorno.
we've
Yeah,
done the language
okay,
thing.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so well, I just have some rapid fire questions, nothing too complicated, but I'm so excited that we got to spend another hour together. So, the very first thing that you do when in the morning in Cortona, when you wake up. Mhm.
I throw open the shutters
And then,
and look out at the valley and see what kind of day it's going to be. I mean, that's really the first thing. And then pretty early now, before it gets hot, I take my walk into town. From here, I can walk on a Roman road through a field, and I'm in town in 20 minutes. So
okay.
that's my morning.
Uh-huh. What's always in your market, in your basket when you come back from the mercato in Cortona?
At this season, melons. The melons here are, you want to cry when you're eating one. They're so good. We have melon every day. So we're always hauling melons. And the man at the Frutta e Verdura, he says, "Do you want one for today or tomorrow?" And he knows the ripeness. I have never been able to figure out that, but he does.
Yes. So an Italian word that either you picked up recently that you love or kind of captures your life there.
I love the little trips. I love gita, the
The
little
word
trip.
Gita.
It's favorite word because we're always looking to see where we're going to go next.
Okay, this one is about Ed. We didn't really talk much about the olive production, but what is Ed's favorite routine about his olive oil production?
Well, he is always wandering in the olive grove to check on the state of the olives because right now is a really crucial moment. The olives are, they're getting to be like this big, but if a big heat wave comes, that can make those little delicate olives drop off, which means you don't get much of a crop. So his favorite thing is to go out like every other day and check to see how those olives are coming along. It looks like we're going to have a pretty good crop, but I think we did get some loss because of the heat.
I can,
The heat, the global warming is really affecting, grape production here and olives pretty rapidly.
Yeah, even though I've never met Ed in person, I could also picture him in the piazza or wherever once at discussing with the locals what has been the yearly yield, compare
Yes.
numbers of who got what. So a couple more, one dish that you could eat every day and never get tired of.
Well, we're very big on pasta au ragu, I must say, and I guess that's most regularly on our table. We make like a triple recipe of it and put it up in jars and just pull them out when we need it. Quick pasta for dinner. Pasta au ragu, soul food.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the two might not be just a one-word answer. After all you have written and lived, what still calls you to the page each morning?
Discovery, what I might discover.
Okay. And the last one, the message about forever love in a great marriage is.
That's my secret for the novel.
Okay.
That's
Well,
my big secret.
Mhm.
And I think it's very true, but I hope if people read it, they might be driven to look at their own marriage in a different way.
Indeed. So, well, unfortunately, our time together is up. Il Big Bang ha detto stop, and it's time for us to say arrivederci e alla prossima. We want to thank you for tuning in to the program. And if you have any questions or comments, or if you have any topics you would like us to address, please contact us at italianradiohour@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And remember, if you or any of your family and friends have missed a prior episode or would like to listen to this episode again, subscribe to the Italian Radio Hour on YouTube or where you catch your favorite podcasts. And don't forget that sharing is caring. So don't forget to share this podcast. So I would like to thank Francis one more time for being with us, I believe, for the third time in this nice hot summer day.
Thank
And
you, Viviana. It's a pleasure always to talk to you.
And in bocca al lupo for the citizenship
Thank
ceremony.
you.
We will be waiting to see some pictures. We want to thank also our sponsors, Istituto Mondo Italiano and La Prima Espresso. Until next time, alla prossima. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao. Ciao.